Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Side. Jaya Radha Madhava Punya Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Punya Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Gopi Jana Vallabha सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी प्रभुपाद की जय, अनंत कोटि वैष्णववृंद की जय, नामाचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद से अद्वैत गदाधर शिवास आदि गौर भक्तवृंद की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गौ गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरिवर्धन की जय, वृंदावन धाम की जय, नवद्वीप धाम की जय, स्वामी तो भक्तवृंद की जय, गंगा माई की जय, जमुना माई की जय, तुलसी देवी की जय, भक्ति देवी की जय, स्वामी तो भक्तवृंद की जय। All glories to the assembled Lord. All glories to the assembled Lord. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
You are welcome. You are welcome to this
Okay.
class. Yes, we can
Good.
start, please.
Okay. Narayana namaskritya narayachava narottamam devam sarasatim vyasam tato jayam mudiraye nasta prayesva bhadresu nitya bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama sloke bhakti bhavati naistike vede ramane chaiva purane bharate tata hado anta mahadi cha hari sabati giyate mukam karoti vachalam pangulang karoti bhagiri ya kripataham vande Sri Guru Dinatarine Paramananda Madhava Daba Prajuta Katavota Paramoni Mashram Satan Vedan Vastavam Atrabhastam Sivadan Tapatayo Molanan Sima Bhagavate Mahamuni Kitenki Vaipara Ishvara Sadhurudi Avarudati Trakatipitita Kishanam Nigama Kapan Talu Garitam Palam Sukamukan Rasamjutan Pibatam Bhagavatam Rasamalaya Muhura Urasika Bobi Bhavaka Atoya Brahmasutranam Bharata Tabininaya Gayati Basharupu Shobidata Paribimita Sababidiyatiya Shanam Saram Saram Paribimita Sababidatan Saram He Sri Bhagavatamishate Tarasamitasya Titasya Nayatya Sharati Kuchi Namamo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pistaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namini Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharini Nibise Sasunya Badi Pashita Dishatarini Agyanachimandasya Ganan Sarakaya Chakshumita Yenatas Mashi Guravi Nama. So I'm happy to be here this afternoon, my time in India, and your morning, if you're in Europe or in Africa or in America. So I thank everyone for coming in. I guess we're still expecting more devotees to come in. So we continue the reading, the study of the Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, chapter 5, text 24. This is in the matter of Nada Muni having a conversation with Srila Vyasadeva about how he has come to be what he is. Because previous to Nada Muni being is right now is the lost incarnation, Saktyavish avatar, to disseminate bhakti. But before he became the great Narada Muni, he had a previous life. So by which is recounting his experience of his previous life to Vyasadeva. Actually, according to the Puranas, Narada Muni, he had some few lives experiences. Not when he became the son of a maidservant. Previous to that, he was a Gandharva. So Gandharva, these are the heavenly, they're more like angels in the Western tradition. They're like angels. So he was previously a Gandharva, and there's some story to that. There's not so much time to be getting to that story. But he was previously a Gandharva, and then he became the next life became the son of a maidservant. So now, the experience as the son of a maidservant is now being recounted, and this is the subject of our discussion this afternoon, morning your time. So, so I just read the text, then I will do word for word translation, then Srila Prabhupada's purport. Then I will give my lecture on that. Temayi apeta kila chapale abake, Dante dita kidanake novatini, Chakru kipam yadyapi tu yadashana, Sushusa mane muna yoapa basini. Te, they, mayi, unto me, apeta, not having undergone, akila, all kinds of, chapele, proclivities, adbake, unto a boy, Dante, having controlled the senses, Adrita Kridanake, without being accustomed to sporting habits, Anuvatine, obedient, Chakru, did bestow, Kripam, causeless mercy, Yadyapi, although Tuya Darshanan, impartial by nature, Sususamane, unto the faithful, Monaya, the Muni, followers of the Vedanta, Alpa Bhashini, one who does not speak more than required. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Although they were impartial by nature, those followers of the Vedanta blessed me with their causeless mercy. As far as I was concerned, I was self-controlled and had no attachment for sports, even though I was a boy. In addition, I was not naughty and I did not speak more than required. Purport. In the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says, all the Vedas are searching after me. Lord Sri Chaitanya says that in the Vedas, the subject matters are only three, namely to establish the relationship, the relation of the living entities with the personality of Godhead, perform the relative duties in devotional service, and thus achieve the ultimate goal, back to Godhead. As such, Vedanta bodies, or the followers of the Vedanta, indicate the pure devotees of the personality of Godhead. Such Vedanta bodies, or the Bhakti Vedantas, are impartial in distributing the transcendental knowledge of devotional service. To them, no one is enemy or friend, no one is educated or uneducated. No one is especially favorable, and no one is unfavorable. The Bhaktivedantas see that the people in general are wasting time in false, sensuous things. Their business is to get the ignorant mass of people to reestablish their lost relationship with the personality of Godhead. By such endeavor, even the most forgotten soul is roused up to the sense of spiritual life, and thus being initiated by the Bhakti Vedantas. The people in general gradually progress on the path of transcendental realization. So the Vedanta bodies initiated the boy even before he became self-controlled and was detached from childish sporting, etc. But before the initiation, he, the boy, became more and more advanced in discipline, which is very essential for one who wishes to make progress in the line. In the system of Varnashram Dharma, which is the beginning of actual human life, small boys after 5 years of age are sent to become brahmachari at the Guru's ashram, where these things are systematically taught to boys, be they king's sons or sons of ordinary citizens. The training was compulsory not only to create good citizens of the state, but also to prepare the boy's future life for spiritual realization. The irresponsible life of sense enjoyment was unknown to the children of the followers of the Banashram system. The boy was even injected with spiritual acumen before being placed by the father in the womb of the mother. Both the father and the mother were responsible for the boy's success in being liberated from the material bondage. That is the process of successful family planning. It is to beget children for complete perfection without being self-controlled, without being disciplined, and without being fully obedient. No one can become successful in following the instructions of the spiritual master. And without doing so, no one is able to go back home, back to Godhead. Je maya apita kila chapele abake dante dita kidana ke nuvatini chakoki panya diapi tu yadashana sushu samane muna yo apabashini. Although they were impartial by nature, those followers of the Vedanta blessed me with their causeless mercy. As far as I was concerned, I was self-controlled and had no attachment for sports, even though I was a boy. In addition, I was not naughty and I did not speak more than required. So this is the life of a great person. As they say that every saintly person have a past, because there's no saintly person who do not have a past. And sometimes those past may not always be glorious, even though we who are conditioned souls, we always enamored by the great personalities, the great saintly person, and especially when we read about them, about how they are influencing the life of others. So we are very enamored by such personalities. But as I said, the great personalities, they always have a past. And those parts of them, they do not hide it. Because by recanting their past, as been shown here by Nadamuni to Srila Vyasadeva. So, they show us how we can actually prepare ourselves for life of greatness, which means the life of, self-realization, the life of God realization. So Nadamuni here is saying that, yes, he was a boy, and because his mother was a maidservant, so which means he was not like a very, very high lineage. His mother was a maidservant, which means the maidservant basically, they cleaned the house, they rendered menial service to the household, to the house owners. Just like here in India, everyone practically has got some maidservants, especially those who are, practically every household has got that. The maidservant, those who clean your house and all that. So Nadamuni's mother was such that his mother was a maidservant. And that time he was very, very young. He was like, 5 years old. He wasn't, he was very, very young that time. So in the house where his mother was serving, so there are some great personality, they are called Bhakti Vedantas. So they had come to spend 4 months there in that house. In the period of Chaturmasya is a 4 months, which basically fall into rainy seasons, and especially here in India. And Chaturmasya is normally between the July and November. This is when the Chaturmasya is the 4 months. And this particular month, because of the season is usually very wet. It's like usually rainy seasons, the weather it's always wet. So that time, the saintly persons, even though they normally travel from place to place, they go all day because they don't stay in one place. But during this first season, and during these 4 months, Chaturmasya, they stay in one particular place. They don't go anywhere. It's just like when Chaitanya Prabhu, when he was traveling in South India. So that time he was in Surangam. So as he was traveling that time, the Chaturmasya had begun. So Mahaprabhu spent 4 months in Surangam. He spent 4 months in the house of Vaikanta Bhatta. Of course, it's very very beautiful lila that took place there. So this personality, they are called Bhaktivedantas. So they have also come and they spent 4 months in the house where Nada Muni and his mother, where they were staying. And of course, the quality of these persons, because Muna means the thoughtful, very, very thoughtful personalities. So they were, which means Munayo means they are very, very thoughtful, and they really have no affection, for this world. And also they are equally, they are equiposed. They have no desire to enjoy material world, but they are very equiposed, which means they are well-wisher of everyone. They are well-wisher of all living entities. So that's one of the quality of Monis, the Monayo. But here, Narada Muni said that they were especially very kind to him. They are very, very, very kind. Even though this personality, they really don't have, because they are equal to one, they don't see anyone as the object of their affection and someone as the object of their hate. Normally, if someone shows respect, we, as an elderly person, somebody show you respect, naturally, you become kind to that person. You show mercy to that person. And if someone show you a disregard, somebody being rude to you, the natural thing is to be, is to ignore such persons. That's natural, is to ignore such persons. But the great personalities, they were not such. They were not such persons. They don't see someone as the object of their affection, or someone as the object of their hate. They are equiposed to one and all. But in this particular situation here, Narada Muni said that even though they were impartial by nature, they are impartial. The word which was used is these Munis, they don't see anyone as the object of their affection or the hate, but they bestow upon me a special mercy upon me. Why is that? Because Narada Muni, as I show you, he was well, even though he's a boy, he was well behaved. That's the special characteristics. Because because this Bhaktivedantas, these persons, normally just as devotees, let's say you are traveling to some places with fellow devotees, the normal thing we'll do is that we engage, we read Bhagavatam, we engage in a scriptural discourse with one another. That's normally what devotees do, And usually people around you, they may not care so much of what you are doing, But Naira Money, being a young boy, he was very, very attentive to what all these great personalities were doing in terms of the way, they discussed scriptural conclusions among themselves. So Naira Money, he was very, very keen to to know more about the activities. And the special thing is that not only was he very, very humble, not only was he very, very humble and very, very submissive, but those things which young boys normally do, like a young boy, 5-year-old, they like to play, they like to play sports. They like to, play with toys, all these things. These are the nature of young boys. Many of us who are parents or grandparents, we have children or grandchildren. You know what they do, what our 5-year-old will do, and especially you cannot get them to stay in one place. They always go here and there. Just like Srila Prabhupada used to talk about his young son. He says young son is so restless that sometimes his friend, when they come to visit him, and because the boy is so restless, sometimes the friend will say that, okay, we will give you 5 rupees if you can just stay in one place for 5 minutes. We will give you 5 rupees. And that alone, he will fail because the boy is so restless. Because that's the nature of boys, to be restless, to be playful and all that, But now the money was such that he had no craving whatsoever. He had no craving to engage in any childhood activities. He was totally, humble. He was totally desireless, totally desireless. So because of this character, because of this nature of him, which he has, so the Bhaktivedantas, the great personality, the great devotees, they were, they became very merciful upon him. And how did they show their mercy? They actually took a special liking to him by allowing him to listen to them, to sit down when they were having their scriptural instructions. So they actually allow him to sit down because then that this boy is very, very qualified. He just, he has no interest in any kind of mundane affairs. He has no such interest. He simply, he just want to pursue the path of self-realization. So this is the case of Narada Muni. So because this life, as they said, that what's the goal of life? The goal of life is to understand, God consciousness. Just like when Prahlad Maharaj, when he was instructing his his friends, his classmates, who were all in the Gurukul. So he was instructing his classmates in the. Let me just open this page here. So Narada Muni was, Prahlad Maharaj, he was talking about the value of human form of life. That the human form of life is very, very, rarely attained. Komar Acharya Pragyan, Dharma was the Komar Acharya Pragyan, that because the human form of life is very rarely attained, so therefore see perhaps in the Bhagavatam chapter 7, 6, Canto 7, chapter 6, text 1. So Prahlad Maharaj saying, Komara Acharya Pragyan, Dharman Bhagavatam Iha, Dulaba Manusan Jama, Tadapi Hadru Matadam. So he said that because this human form of life is very, very rarely achieved. So he said that one who is sufficiently intelligent should use the human form of body from the very beginning of life. In other words, from the tender age of childhood, to practice the activities of devotional service, giving up all other engagements. The human body is most rarely achieved, and although temporary, like other bodies, it is meaningful because in human life, one can perform devotional service. Even a slight amount of sincere devotional service can give one the, the perfection. This is the instruction that Prahlad Maharaj was, giving his friends, his classmates. He was, essentially telling his classmates not to be, attached to playing sports or, engaging in frivolous activities, because the human form of life is very rarely attained. Even though a particular age, especially when you are children, you think that life is going to go on forever. You think that life is going to go on forever because there's no thought, no knowledge of the realities of life. But that's not the case. Actually, in Bhagavatam has the two most important topics in the Srimad Bhagavatam concerns two boys. The two most important topics. These two boys are Prahlad Maharaj and Dhruva Maharaj. So Prahlad Maharaj and Dhruva Maharaj, these are the two most important topics in the Bhagavatam. And these two topics, these two persons, these are the favorite of Chaitanya Prabhu that you want to hear. Like whenever Chaitanya Prabhu is with Gadara Pandit, because Gadara Pandit, who is one of the Panchatattva, Gadara, he spent all day read Bhagavatam. And whenever I read Bhagavatam, so much tears will be coming from his eyes. Whenever I read Bhagavatam, so much tears will be coming from his eye. So which means it's not just, when you read Bhagavatam, it's not just an ordinary book. Just imagine you read Bhagavatam. So much tears is coming from his eye that the book will be full of water. And those days, the people have the book by copying with one another. There was no printing press those days. I'm talking of 500 years ago. There was no printing press. So the people, if you want to have a book, you have to copy it with pen. So such was the book of Prahlad of Gadara Pandit. So when you read, so much tears will be coming from his eyes, and the book will be just full of, will be full of, all the ink will be splashed up. So it may be difficult to really, trying to figure out, where it is in the book. But whenever Gadara Prabhu, whenever I see Chaitanya Prabhu, so Chaitanya Prabhu always want to hear the pastimes of Prahlad Maharaj and Dhruva Maharaj. So what is the reason for how come that they only want to hear about Prahlad Maharaj and Dhruva Maharaj? Normally, everybody wants to hear 10th canto Bhagavatam, because 10 cantos you hear about Krishna Lila, you hear about Radha and Krishna performing their pastime. It is very, very sweet pastimes, very, very sweet to hear 10th canto. But how come Chaitanya Prabhu is not hearing about 10th canto Bhagavatam, but you want to hear about Dhruva Maharaj and Prahlad Maharaj? So what is the reason for this? The reason is because the Lord, he came to teach about bhakti. He came to teach about devotion service to Krishna. And in order to practice bhakti, the main quality required is simplicity. Unless one is simple, there is no, the possibility of practicing bhakti is not there. The simplicity must be there. As they say, Saralata Vaishnava, that simplicity is Vaishnavism. Unless one is very simple, he cannot work, because if you are very crooked, how can you practice Vaishnava? How can you practice bhakti? You are very crooked. If you're a devious person, how can you practice bhakti? So therefore, simplicity is required. So children, the children are simple. So the children, they represent simplicity. Children represent simplicity because the children, they have no, they have nothing in their heart. They have no grievance in their heart. 4 or 5 year old. They have nothing, they have no grudge in their heart. They're just very simple. They have that nature, playful natures, like that. They come to you and tell you anything without any misconception whatsoever. So the children represent simplicity. So similarly, the simplicity is actually Vaishnavism. So the Prahlad, because they are both children, all like 5, 6 years old, Prahlad and Dhruva Maharaj, they are both children. So these two personalities, they actually represent the heart of Bhagavatam. Prahlad Maharaj, you read about him in the 7th canto of Bhagavatam, and Dhruva Maharaj, we read about him in the 5th canto of Bhagavatam, like that. So in this Chaitanya Prabhu always want to hear about Prahlad and Dhruva Maharaj. So Nada Muni, he was not attached to those things which the children of his age would normally indulge in. He was simply interested in just being around the sadhus, around the self-realized persons, the Bhaktivedantas. And of course, this is not ordinary thing because, as I said, devotional life is something that one has been cultivating from several lifetimes. It's not something that one just come across, all of a sudden. Like the Lord is telling Arjuna, he said, "Nahabi kamana sosti." What's that? Nahabi kamana sosti, pratyabhina vidyate, swapam apyashadamasya, trate mahatuba. Is it that yes, there is no loss or there is no diminution on this path, and a little advancement can protect one from the most dangerous type of fear. The Lord said Arjuna. So which means whatever one does now in this life, even though there'll be no success there, but that becomes permanent bank balance. So that in the next life, where one stop in this life, that percentage when we continue in the next life. Because devotion service is not something that only we do in one life and one attain the perfection. Usually, no. Just like one of the prayer of a devotee to Kapila Dev, his mother, and Kapila Dev happened to be God. So Mother Devotee, she was saying that that it's not ordinary thing that someone will just be chanting the Lord's name. It's not the ordinary thing. He said that those who have taken the process of chanting the Lord's name, she said that such person must have performed all kinds of austerities, all kinds of sacrifices, all kinds of spiritual endeavor. They must have done it in several lifetimes. And then they're able to chant your name now. They're able to chant the Lord's name now. So it's not an ordinary thing. So which means devotional service is always a gradual process. The path of perfection is a gradual process. Whatever we do now, there's no loss in there, because we know that sometimes we are performing, we come to Krishna consciousness. Sometimes we are very, very enthusiastic, and we do our service for years, and after some time, some discouragement comes. We become discouraged somehow for no reason, and then we start losing the enthusiasm. And we start losing as we start losing the enthusiasm, then what happens is we start finding faults in what others are doing, in what the fellow devotees are doing. Or devotees are this, devotees are that, devotees are not caring, There's so many firsts, and then what happened? We give up the process. We say, oh, this part is not good, and maybe I'm just wasting my time here. Devotees are not kind, this and that. So therefore, we give up. Because as I say, Hridaya Dulabha, because we are very, very weak. So therefore, we give up the process, and then we go back to the material world. However, giving up the process, it's not the end, because what we have done previously is a permanent asset, and that asset do not go away. That asset stays there. In the material world, if you put your money in a bank, you're spending it. Sometimes it's going to become zero. If you don't add to it, it's going to become zero. But in Christian consciousness, whatever you do is a permanent bank balance. There is no loss. There is no diminution in there. So even like sometimes we've seen many devotees who have gone so like, for instance, I remember seeing one devotee, after like 35 years, I've not seen this devotee. All of a sudden, just showed up in Mayapur. I said, hey, where have you been? We haven't seen this person in 35 years. All of a sudden, just showed up, Because sometimes we know that material world is not pleasant. So sometimes devotee all of a sudden, they just come back because they're tired of where maybe it's not worth it being in the material world. Now, even though a person may not come back in this lifetime, then they still come back in the next life. So someone like Narada Muni, who by virtue of not being attracted to being playful, to being attracted to sport, just being very, very humbly listening to the sadhus, to the Bhaktivedantas. This is something that's come from the previous life. Now, because of that, now he's very, very attentive. In spiritual life, there are two things in spiritual life. There's what we call the Makata Nyaya, logic, monkey logic. Here in India, normally those who study the Vedic scriptures, part of the thing that you have to study is Nyayas. Nyaya means the logic. Actually, unless you know logic, it's actually difficult to properly preach, to properly lecture, unless you actually know logic. So logic is one of the vital aspects of a Vedic study. So this logic called monkey logic. This logic is that sometimes you will see, of course, here I live here in Durban. There are so many monkeys. Normally, the monkeys, they always jump from one place to another place. They jump from tree to tree, or from building to building. They jump, and then you will see their babies on their back. The monkey with the mother on their back. So now it so happens that the baby monkey will always have to hold on to the mother. As the mother is jumping here and there, we always have to hold on. Because if the baby does not hold on to the mother will not look behind. The mother will just keep going. You just keep going. If you don't hold on to me, that's it. The mother will not pay attention. Because the monkey, as I said, they're naturally renounced in the Makata Vairagya. So the mother of the monkey will just keep going without the pain. So which means the baby monkey will always hold on to the mother, always, if you want to be fed and all that. On the other way, we find that baby kitten, the kitten is always being taken care of by the mother. The mother will never neglect the kitten. The mother cat will never neglect the baby cat. We never neglect the kitten. We always hold, hold the baby with her mouth. We always hold the baby, take care of the baby nicely. So that is the cat, the cat. So which means on one side you have the baby monkey, who always have to be hold on to the mother, catch on tightly. Otherwise, the mother will neglect him. They might just go away. On the other side, you have the baby the baby kitten, the baby cat, who's always been, looking after it, being protected nicely by the mother. So now spiritual life has been compared to these two things, maybe the monkey and the monkey and the cat. So spiritual life, there's what we call the mercy. Mercy is there. The mercy, creeper is there. So there's the mercy is there. And then there is the sadhana, the practice. This is called abhiday. Abhiday means the practice. So you have the sadhana, you have the practice, and then you also have the mercy. That is so, which means you have two pillars there. One is your practice, and the other one is the mercy that you get. So now we are being asked that which one should we follow? Is it the side of the kitten, depend on the mercy, or depend on our own practice and our own sadhana in order to attain perfection? So which one should we follow? Maybe somebody can answer on the platform, can give suggestion on the platform. Which one should be followed? Maybe somebody can unmute and give answer. Hare Krishna. Anybody hearing me?
They are hearing you, Prabhu.
We are hearing you, Prabhu. We are hearing you.
So somebody make a suggestion. Which one you want to follow? The path of mercy or the path of practice? Which one you want to follow?
The path of practice is the best now.
Okay, so you suggest the path of practice.
I
Another
want
person?
the path of mercy. I want the path of mercy.
Mercy is for lazy people who don't want to practice.
I'm a lazy devotee, so I want the path of mercy.
Anybody else?
The path of mercy.
The path of
The path of mercy.
follow.
Okay.
Path
So
of,
you have the
path
path of
of
mercy.
mercy.
Okay, the path of mercy.
practice.
Path of practice.
Path of
Okay.
practice.
Path of practice goes to Prabhu.
Okay. So anyway, so some say the path of mercy and some say the path of, sadhana, the practice. Actually, both is required. Both is required. Yeah, we have to pray for the mercy. Just like we sing in the Tusi prayer that Sevadi Karadeye, Koruneja Dasi, that, give me, be merciful upon me so that I can become a servant. So the mercy is there, that we always have to pray for the mercy. But at the same time also our practice will always be there. We have to hold on, we have to practice. So that practice, that shows our seriousness. The practice that shows our seriousness. Yeah, the mercy is there. Yeah, it's okay. Your mercy, we print to the spiritual master that yes, your mercy is all that I am made of. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna,
Yes.
Prabhu. We are hearing you.
Okay, because the light went off briefly. This is India. Our life goes off all the time. So, both is required. The mercy is required, and also the practice is required. So both we have to, because the Guru is giving us so many instructions to follow. So we have to follow that. We can't just say that, oh, Guru Maharaj, I'm just saying only your mercy only, your mercy only, your mercy only. Just like there was a story one time, one person, he was living in the ashram, and he was living in the ashram. So the Guru Maharaj had traveled somewhere, and then the Guru Maharaj was returning. So this devotee, he because he wanted to welcome the Guru Maharaj nicely, so he just spent all the money of the ashram to make a fabulous arrangement for the guru's welcome, which whatever the money the ashram has, he used that to make fabulous welcome arrangement, for the guru. So when the guru arrived, he saw that, oh, this disciple made all these nice arrangement, nice preparation, so many things. And then the guru asked him that, how are you able to afford all these things? How are you able to do all these things? So the disciple replied, oh, Guru Maharaj, your mercy only. It's by your mercy only. That was his reply. Guru Maharaj is by your mercy only. So Guru Maharaj is by your mercy. And then the Guru Maharaj found out that the ashram account is completely empty. It has become empty. So the Guru Maharaj said that you're such a foolish fellow, so, you completely empty the ashram account. So how is the ashram going to survive? So what kind of stupidity is that? So this mercy is not something that we have to take lightly.
I think it's by the Guru's mercy that he emptied the ashram account.
Yeah, you have opened and then completely empty the account.
That's the mercy.
Yeah, the empty account and then giving the headache, giving the headache to the guru, So the mercy must be there. Must be the practicality must be there. That yes, we pray for the mercy of the spiritual master, of the saintly personality. We pray for the mercy, but at the same time also we have to follow. We have to practice. We have to hold on to our sadhana. The process we have to hold on to it. That shows our seriousness. A person is serious when it follows. It's not that, okay, as you pray for the mercy. No, you have to follow what you have been. It's by such following that the mercy become meaningful. So Narada Muni here in this situation, he was, he was very, very serious. He was a very, very serious boy. He was not playful. He was not playing with any toy. He actually not just. He actually had no no taste for it. He had no hankering for it. Because the part of spiritual life is that until you become serious to forgo those materialistic hankerings, until we are already serious for that, it will be difficult to really have a taste for Krishna consciousness. That's what we call asat trishna, which means the hankering, the taste for those, the asa, which are temporary things. So therefore, Srila Rupa Goswami, he had written in the Nectar Devotion, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, he said Sadhu Sangha Bhajan Kriya. It's okay, it said Ado Shraddha, Sadhu Sangha Bhajan Kriya, Anatta Nibriti Shyat, Ruchis, Ashakti Bhava. So this is what he's saying, that yes, in the beginning, there's faith. One has faith in the beginning. And then from that faith, one associates with saintly persons. Sadhu means a saintly, one associates with a saintly person. And then the saintly person, he started giving us instruction in bhajan, and started engaging us in bhajan, which means in practice, in devotional service. And by such practice, follow regulatory principles, running devotional service, hearing Bhagavatam regularly, chanting Nam. So eventually what happened? Anatta nibriti, which means all those unwanted bad habits, all the materialistic hankerings will go away. We go away. All the materialistic hankerings will go away. So which means our heart will no longer desire success in the material world or success in the material life. We start developing taste for Krishna, ruchi. Taste for Krishna will start coming. The desire to just want to hear Bhagavatam from devotees, just want to associate with the devotees, to chant the holy name non-stop. So all these desires will just become more and more stronger within us. And as this taste is developing, ruchi start developing more and more, what happens is ashakti. Ashakti means attachment. Now, this attachment also is not material attachment, it's spiritual attachment. So ashakti will come. Which means we become so, just become so just want to be, all those places where the Lord is, where the Lord's devotees are. We only want to take only Krishna Prasad. We only want to be only with devotees only. All these things start coming within us, and we start developing greed for all those things which associate with Krishna consciousness. We cannot rest unless we actually hear Bhagavatam, or we chant the Lord's name. So we basically become our real nature. And then from that point on, what happens? Bhava, that's what we call bhava, which means spiritual emotions start coming. Spiritual emotions start coming. So that yes, we start chanting Krishna's name, and we're not just chanting 16 rounds. 16 rounds is actually meant for the neophyte only. So that when we're chanting, we come to the point whereby you don't want to stop chanting. You don't want to stop chanting. Rupa Goswami is saying that, my dear Krishna, my dear Lord, your name is so sweet that I want to have thousands and thousands of tongues of mouth just to chant your name. Talks about you is so nectarian. I wish to have millions of ears just to hear about you. So we come to that point, everything becomes so tasty, becomes so tasteful. About Krishna becomes so madhu. Madhu means very, very tasty. But of course, by the time you come to that platform, you are no longer a member of this material world. Actually, you become completely spiritualized. You're no longer a member of this material world. So anyway, this is there's a lot of points which are made in this purport of Bhagavatam, and also the acharyas like Srila Vishnu Chakravartipa, Vallabhacharya, and some other acharya. They've also made a lot of glossy points in this to this purport, by which it's difficult to really time to go over everything, because we don't have time to go over all the materials. But because Bhagavatam is so deep a subject that the more you get into it, the more deeper you want to get into it. You see? So because all our acharya, they're giving so many wonderful, insights into how we can see various angles of Bhagavatam. And the whole purpose is to make us devotees, to make us develop taste for chanting Krishna's name, to make us become serious in this process. And in this way, our life can become perfect. So I'm going to stop here. If there's any question, you can please go ahead. Hare Krishna.
Yes, Prabhu, Hare Krishna. Thank you for your class. Anybody has a question, raise your hand. We call you. My first question is on the purports.
Okay.
Oh, it's not coming up. On the purports, towards the end of the purports, Prabhupada made mention of the irresponsible life of sense enjoyment was unknown to the children of the followers of the Varnashram system.
Yeah.
And he goes on to say that a boy was even injected with spiritual argument before being placed by the father in the womb of the mother.
Akumen, yeah, Akumen.
So can you elaborate on this? Why are we having so many devotee children not following this, like being irresponsible and trying to pursue sense enjoyments like the materialistic people? What can be the cause of this?
Like Prabhupada mentioned, there's a process of which is known as Garbhadam Samskara. Garbhadam Samskara, it's a process by which it's a form of it's a Vedic sacrifice by which a father has to perform before impregnating the wife. So normally this sacrifice, the Garbhadam Samskara, is meant to invite pious souls into the womb. Then when it's this done properly, so the child we won't be able to invite good child into the womb. So the people, and obviously such children, when they are born, they are, just like this case of the Narimuni. Actually, Narimuni, as even though he was a child of maidservant, but his mother, sorry, his father was actually a Brahman. His father was a Brahman, so it wasn't just so obviously. The samskara, the proper samskara is there when there is such, because as I said, just like in Bhagavad Gita, proper was written that for if one is unable to attain perfection in this life, then when we take birth in the family of a transcendentalist in one's next life, when we take such birth. So which means now how do one go to that particular in the household, that for one to take birth in a particular good family, because those such family who are the followers of Vedic system, so they perform this thing called a Garbhadan Samskara. Is a Vedic sacrifice process, so that the children born will be of pious nature, not of a crooked nature. Now, nowadays, in this present day of Kali Yuga, such especially outside of India, people don't even know anything about such sacrifice. They don't even know anything about that. Here in India, some family are still doing it, especially South India. You will find them. Some time ago, I was traveling South India. I think I was in Tirupati, and myself and some few devotees, we went to one particular Gurukul, not ISKCON, this is Vedic Gurukul, and we had all these small children, like from 5 to like 16-year-old. All of them, they were chanting, they were speaking pure Sanskrit, and they are very, very they have all the nice qualities, So obviously their children, their father, they are Brahmanas, and they were given a proper samskara before they were born, because there's so many sacrifices are there in the life of a child, But if those sacrifices are not there, like especially in our case in ISKCON, as you mentioned, because people are not following anything, they just have sex just for the sake of it. So obviously, if you are lucky, maybe you get a good child if you are lucky, If you are lucky, even though, yes, you do say that Prabhupada, I think, I'm not sure if Prabhupada said that devotee before they have children, they should first of all chant like 50 rounds before they have children, But I don't think many people have done it. Even those who done it, even their children, they have not been that great. So there's no samskara which is being performed by devotees, and to perform sacrifice, and to perform such sacrifice, there has to be qualified brahmanas who know how to chant good mantras. But those qualified brahmanas are not there. They're very, very rare. You don't find them. So therefore, what we have nowadays is just a chance, It's just a chance. Especially in Mayapur, you have Vrindavan, you live in Mayapur, you see our children there, you see how rough many of them are. Even though they are born by devoted parents, but you can see their lives. Many of them smoke dope, so many of them, it's like, it just, you find so many horrible things. So this is because it's not sacrifice being performed. So therefore, devotees are unable to bring pious souls into their family. They are unable to bring, because it's lack of qualification of those who can do such sacrifice. The lack of qualification is there. So therefore, as they say, this is Kali Yuga. Kali Yuga is a nasty age. It's an ocean of what. So we can just, as they say, Kali Dosha Nide Rajan, Astigum Hadguna, Kitana Deva Krishnasya, Mukta Sangasya Jayadat. In Kali Yuga is the ocean of what? No good quality is there. But we can simply, chant the name of Krishna, and then we can expect something good to come out of it.
Thank you. Our next question is from Ganga Prashad, Prabhu.
Okay.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Ganga
Chanda
Prabhu.
Pranam.
Hare Krishna.
God bless the Guru and Guru
Hare
God bless
Krishna.
the
Hare
Prabhupada.
Prabhupada.
From the pop-up of this local, There is a mention there in the system of Vanashram Dam, which is the beginning of actual human life. Small boys, after 5 years of age, are sent to become brahmacharis as the Guru's ashram, where
Yeah.
these things are systematically taught to the boys, be they king's son or sons of ordinary citizens. And he ended by saying the training was compulsory, not only to create good citizens of the state, but also to prepare each boy's future life for spiritual realization. This, I'm just taking it from the point of the last question about Gabodana Samskara and all of that. I'm looking at the institutional level. What are the facilities available to groom citizens? Because yes, it is easy to say our children are not conducting themselves, not following them like this. But we also have to see what is the structure. What is the structure we have in place or on ground? So if you go to this same Bhagavatam, first canto, chapter 1, text number 22. In the purport, Prabhupada is also mentioning something, like he mentioned here. The whole system of education is geared to sense gratification, which is where we have to take some sympathy with the children. The kind of school we send them to is to increase sense gratification. That's what they are following. And he said, if a learned man thinks it over, he sees that the children of this age are being intentionally sent to slaughterhouses of so-called education. So I want to see how you corroborate this. Yes, Gabo Samskara, Gabodana Samskara is not contestable. But let us see the physical, social circumstance that these children are subjected to, that also institution should play a role. Like Narad Muni is getting some facility of social interaction. If the Vedantis were not interacting with him, he may not have transformed. So in the institutional level, what are the things we have? You mentioned about the Gurukul now. Also in the Gurukul, what is the level of care that is geared towards making the children become the quality they should be?
Yeah, as you say, the fact, the reality is there that, the real Gurukul, actually Gurukul means the where the children are sent to the house of the Guru by the time they are 5 years old. And then they are given, adequate re-education. But what we have in our society is not a Gurukul, of course. It's definitely not a Gurukul. That's a reality. Because you have to pay for it. For example, we have a Gurukul in Vrindavan. We have a Gurukul in Mayapan. You have to pay in how many legs to send your child here. So it's not really a Gurukul. It's just a school. It's just a boarding house. That's all. And it's just a fact. We have to be honest about it. So we cannot say that, okay, we have a Gurukul whereby the children, they can be trained to become a perfect human being. The fact is that they are not. I have not seen a single of our Gurukul children who can we say, okay, this is an idea person, an idea Vedic person, or idea devotee person. No. So again, it's very, very thin because, as you said, we cannot blame the children. Of course, the parent, of course, they're largely to be blamed, that's for sure. And it's also the same time, the parent also, they are just a victim of the circumstance. They are a victim of the circumstance. So it's like, just like they're helpless, the parents are helpless. And they, so the parents are helpless because of being the victim of the circumstance, and the circumstance being this Kali Yuga. And that is the reason why, because everything is completely upside down in this Kali Yuga. So Labaksidanta said that if I know I could bring a Christian conscious child into this world, I'm ready to have 100 children. If I know I can bring a Christian conscious child. This is Labaksidanta coming from the spiritual world himself. He said, if I can bring Krishna conscious child to this world, I'm ready to have children in hundreds of time. He said, because it's impossible in this Kali Yuga, so therefore I remain brahmachari for my whole life. You know, even all of our, pure devotees, how many of their children become, pure devotees themselves? It's like even like Prabhupada, our Fanaracharya, pure devotees of Krishna, come from the spiritual world. His children, they were not pure devotees. Of course, they are pious person, but not even one of his children sued ISKCON after Prabhupada, left the planet. He wanted to take asset of ISKCON. So everyone is victim of circumstance, which is in this case Kali Yuga. So whereby the parents, they are not prepared to have children. They don't have to prepare themselves to have children. They just have children just like that. So the children who are born, they become victim of the circumstance. So they have to follow their nature. For instance, everyone send their children to the school. I mean, what did they teach you in school? Just sense gratification, that's all. That's what they teach you that's what they teach you in the school. That's why Prabhupada call it a slaughterhouse. Because the whole brain is completely messed up towards sense gratification, towards so many things. It's not geared towards Krishna consciousness. So it's just a Kali Yuga. Kali Yuga is such a nasty age. Whereas Bhagavatam says, it's a Guru Sasya, Pitana Sasya, that one should not become a guru, one should not become a parent, one should not become a king, whatever. If one cannot liberate one's dependent from the ocean, from the cycle of from the ocean of birth and death. So this instruction is there in the Vedas. So Kali Yuga, it's a big major factor, because we are product of Kali Yuga. This is where the circumstance it is today. So we can only pray, just like we have our children in Mayapur, they're doing so many crazy things. But no matter how you instruct them, they will not listen. Even though they are growing up there, they are not. It's not that they're exposed to sense gratification. But just the nature. The nature is there. So what to do. So we can only pray to Krishna, to God. Okay, our dear Lord, after all, we all came to Krishna consciousness. I wasn't born of devotees. I came when I was 19 years old to the society. That's like 42 years ago, 3 years ago. So somehow I'm able to stay by, so it's not that because I had a pious background. So the same way also our children, we can similarly pray for them that yes, somehow they will also similarly, and of course our children in Krishna consciousness, in one sense, they are much better situated. They are much better situated than us because being born as devoted parent, and they are not so much in terms of meat eating or intoxication, except somebody become crazy. At least they are not into that. And especially those, who live in the, in devotee community. So in one sense, our children, they are much better off than we were when we joined. Am I correct? They're much better than us. So even though they may be following their process, time we can, but at least they are much better off than we do.
A little flip of this. Are we, especially considering our circumstance in West Africa, I think home-based, is there any way we can conceive concepts or projection where we can have school and be able to tailor our children better than what they already have by being devotee children and create the ambience of environment that really happy? For example, we started a school in Port Harcourt, which is still there, but it is only non-devotee children that attend the school. It's very pathetic. But if the school was taken by the vision for which it was set up, and it is managed by now, it must have grown as a unit, and it also has to be a model for our children. So it's a big lacuna in the life of devotional service in West Africa, because if the children are not facilitated, the future is very obscure. They associate in school, they are exposed to so many things, and by the time you know it, they may be worse than Kami because, like policemen's children, they are worse criminals.
Yeah.
You know, so if our children decide to go off, they'll be worse. So, but what are you thinking, or what is your suggestion as to what could we do, given our circumstance, to be able to float something for them?
And of course, these problems is not only, limited to West Africa. This is worldwide problems. It's worldwide, basically. We have especially given to the bad experience of the Gurukul system we have in ISKCON, so much, which had happened in the past, in the 70s, 80s, the abuse and all that, which eventually caused the closure of all our ISKCON Gurukuls. So it's a very, of course, the ideal situation will be to have a school whereby there is the total responsibility. Of course, the movement itself has to take care, has to take responsibility. But unfortunately, our movement is not really interested in the children education. They're not interested. It's just about mission. The missionary spirit is there, but the children, the family is just not there. That's a reality. And right now, that in the present circumstance, it's like everyone basically just wash off their hand and come to anything have to come to school. Everybody, all the leaders, everybody just wash their hands off because of the bad experience that we've had, the Gurukul and all this abuse that we have. So it's a very, very tough situation. So which means the devotees, the senior devotees, the leaders, everybody have to come. They have to be like what we call it. There has to be. People just have to come together and discuss what can be the ultimate benefit, so that people should not just look into what is good for them. They should just have in terms of the overall picture of what is actually good for the society, for the children, especially for the children. Our children are going to public school. How can we, which is definitely not good for them, that's obviously. But it's like there's just no other way. I've seen some devotees say that, oh yes, my children, they went to public school and they're so wonderful. They're glorifying the fact that the children went to wonderful school and they say that, oh, they got best of everything. This is like the pride. This has become the pride of most parents, of all the parents, become their pride. But so which means the focus, it just, what to say. Basically, if all the parents, the devotees, the senior devotees, they just come together and discuss and have a heart-to-heart discussion on how we can make things better. That yes, having a child is a responsible thing, but at the same time also to make that children grow. For me, from my personal point of view, it's not an easy solution, because after all, I've passed that age of where I have to raise children. I'm in the 60s, so I cannot raise children anymore. I've passed that age. I'm sure you also.
It's not late. It's not late, Prabhu.
I completely passed that age. So, but again, devotees have to, which means you are one of the leaders. You have to get all the other leaders together. That yes, this should be our prime focus of discussion. This should take priority over any form of management. This should take priority over any form of management. I'm kind of a person that I always desire education. I want education. That yes, our organization should be in the forefront of education. Education means a spiritual education, which means the disciplines, the spiritual discipline in terms of spiritual education should be there, so that to make a good society. After all, we know that in Africa, how did the Christians, the Muslims, how did they make so many Christians? By building schools. Many of us went to missionary schools. How did we become Christians or Muslims? Because we went to all these schools, which is funded by the Christian missionaries, and all that. And those missionaries, they were very, very responsible. Here in India also, the same thing in India. The best education you get in India is when you go to the Christian missionaries, the Christian school, mission schools, So I always desire such thing for our organization that, yes, let's get into the education. Let's get into the education so that people can actually see the value in life. Again, it's not a small discussion. It's a discussion that can, take,
Okay, Prabhu. I have a second question still on the papers.
Okay.
In the paper, Prabhupada said, to them, I mean the Vedanta Vadis, to them, no one is enemy or friend. No one is educated or uneducated. No one is especially favorable and no one is unfavorable.
Yeah.
So this brings up my question of what we have been discussing in the previous classes, that who are these Vedantis in this Kali Yuga? Because here they don't see anybody educated or uneducated in the papers. No one is enemy, no one is a friend. No one is especially favorable and no one is unfavorable. But we see in our movement, some zones are favorable and some zones are seen as unfavorable. So people choose where they go. And nobody wants us to discuss this issue. But we can see it on the papers. The Vedantis, they have no enemy or friend. Nobody is favorable, nobody is unfavorable. So what my question still go back to our last argument. Why are some people not coming to West Africa? Are they also Vedantis or non-Vedantis?
Now, if you read Papa more clearly, the Vedantis, these are not simple things. These are people, not only are they in knowledge, deep scripture knowledge, there's also self-realized people. They are realized people, self-realized. And these people who are self-realized, they see the quality, they don't see who's favorable, who's not favorable. They see the samadashana, they see the equality in all. They completely have their vision is completely spiritual. They have no sense of discrimination whatsoever. They see everyone all equal. They don't see low or high or black or white or this. They just see the spiritual. They just see everyone has been connected with God, with the spiritual world, with the spiritual love. Of course, so that's why even Nadamuni said that even though these personalities, even though they see the equality in all beings, but somehow they were impartial to me. They saw some favor towards me. They become kind towards me. Somehow. So, which means these personalities, they have no idea of, okay, see the difference, who's good to them. But because the way Nadamuni conducted himself, he was not frivolous. He was very, very much, I just want to hear, he was very, very humble. Very humble was there. And he was very, very quiet. He doesn't talk. It's not that, he just want to talk like the children do. When the children, they never stop talking. It's not that I only talk when there's a need for it, which is that it doesn't even talk. He said only speak when there's a need to it. Prabhu is the word that is used for it. Yeah? He said that Prabhu means one who does not speak more than required. So which means he just, most of the time he's quiet most of the time. So because of mercy, submissiveness, he just want to listen to the Vedantists having the scriptural discussions. He just want to listen to them, And he had no other hankering. It's not that the moment you stop listening to them, you go and do other things. You go play with toys. No. He just, for the whole man they are there, he just want to, he was observing their qualities, simply thinking of how he can, develop the same caliber of qualities, which these personalities actually, when you read the next verse, you're going to see some of them, especially when you read some of the purports of the acharyas, of how some of these qualities were developed by Nadamuni, just observing them. So seeing this quality in Nadamuni, so the Bhaktivedantas, they were favorable to him. They especially give their mercy to him. So, and by giving their message to him, all his sinful activities, all his sinful reactions, everything was completely eradicated, just by the virtue of having received mercy from this, from this Bhaktivedantas, and especially to, he was able to taste their remnants. He was able to get some prasad from them also, which completely purify him, So that is there. So, which means don't think that those who are traveling around the preacher, they are Bhaktivedantas. Bhaktivedantas they're not that cheap of personalities. We are devotees trying to understand Krishna consciousness, trying to practice Krishna consciousness. But this is what Bhaktivedanta is not a cheap thing. Bhakti or the Vedantis means somebody who knows the heart of the Vedas. When they breathe out the Vedic wisdom. They breathe out the Vedic wisdom, and then they practice is actually their life. It's their life. And then on top of all that, they're also Bhaktas. They are devotees of the Lord. So two things, they are Vedantists, and second, they are Bhakta. Bhakta means not just Bhakta, pure Bhaktas, pure devotees. So this is very, very rare personalities. So don't be disheartened when devotees don't come to West Africa. Don't be disheartened. Okay. After all, we already have so many great caliber of devotees in West Africa already. So maybe they don't have to come. We have people like Ganga Prasad is there. We have Srivas Prabhu is there. Bhaktivedanta Damara Swami is there. So many devotees are there. So, they are enough. So what do you need?
We are not disheartened. We're only discussing on how the Vedantists don't show favor to a particular people or anybody.
Well, I'm just telling you, try to understand who is Vedantist.
But we are flowing, everybody is flowing the footstep of the Vedantists. Is it not?
Vedantist like somebody like Prabhupada. Prabhupada is Vedantist. Vedantist Prabhupada.
But the followers are following the same footstep of Prabhupada and the Vedantists who met Narada Muni.
No.
So by following the footstep of a Vedantist, one should be acting like that. There's no
as they say, morality cannot be legislated. God consciousness is not something that you legislate. It's something that comes from the heart. God realization, it comes from the heart. It comes from the heart. It's not something, because no. So unless one is realized completely within, so it's just the differences that one sees will always be there until the self-realization comes. And self-realization is not a cheap thing. It's not cheap at all. It's not cheap.
We have last question from George Amega.
Okay.
George Amega, mute.
Thank you very much for your wonderful lecture. But my question still remains on Prabhu Kusha's question that he has just asked. These Vedantis, did they have any option as to where they go or where they not go? Because I quite remember here in Ghana, when Bhakti Damodara Swami came to Ghana, and the temple president is not engaging him in any kind of devotional service, he laments. Sometimes they have to force his way to go to farm, sometimes. So these Vedantis, did they have the option to ask to where to go and where not to go? And my second question to do with the Kripa. In this age of Kali, in the presented words, which one is more needed? That's my two questions.
So anyway, of course, your question will mostly be, the voice was breaking quite a bit. If I can catch, I think the voice was breaking. Maybe your speaker.
The last, his last question was that in Kali Yuga, people which is characterized by hypocrisy and laziness. Sadhana and Kripa, in percentage wise, which one is needed? Sadhana and Kripa.
Okay, as I explained.
Which one is more needed?
Equally. It's equally needed. 50-50, equal. You have to practice. At the same time, you have to be praying and beg for the mercy.
Okay.
And at the same time, also do constant practice. Never give up what you are told to do, how you're told to practice your runs, association with the devotees. Never give it up. At the same time, praying for the mercy of the Lord. So the both are needed. Both should never be overlooked for the other. We need both.
Okay. Then my first question. Prabhu, then my first question.
Oh, that's your first
question, Prabhu?
Yes, can you type it down, please?
Yeah, because when you type it down because your voice is breaking, your speakers. So type down your question.
I'm saying that. Can you hear me now?
It's kind of difficult.
Prabhu?
I can hear you a little bit because of this. Something is breaking. It's breaking on the line. I can hear you half an hour, 50% I can hear you. Kusa Prabhu, can you maybe you can help him?
He doesn't want to write it down. I don't know how to help him. His internet is not good. So we move on and ask all the devotees to unmute themselves and let's chant Hare Krishna to Prabhu for comment. Kindly unmute, please.
Okay,
Hare
so
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna,
Hare Rama, Hare Rama,
Rama Rama, Hare
Hare
Rama.
Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.